Mr. Krekorian.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, in 2002, the Burbank Unified School District faced unexpected mid-year budget cuts. And as a result of those mid-year cuts, layoff notices went out to about 25% of the teachers of the district. And the result of those layoff notices was that Democrats and Republicans throughout our city marched on City Hall, signed petitions, stormed school board meetings, and inspired me to run for the school board. In the following election, every incumbent running for re-election was defeated because of those layoff notices. So I'm very sympathetic to the school boards that Mr. Calderon mentioned and to the citizens of those cities that are going to have to deal with this exact situation because of the actions that we're taking and the actions that we are failing to take right here in Sacramento. We should be embarrassed as a state, not just by the budget cuts that are being proposed now, but where we already are today in our commitment to public education. Someone mentioned a ranking earlier about that some group had done about our business friendliness here in California. Well, as long as we're talking about rankings, let's remember, too, that California is 49th in the country in teacher-student ratio. We are 51st in the country in counselor-to-student ratio, worse than every other state and Washington, D.C. We are 51st in the country in librarian-to-student ratio. And members, that is embarrassing. We should be ashamed. When we see these kids up in the balcony here, we should be ashamed to look them in their eye. But today, this bill offers a very clear choice. Do we as an institution care more about protecting the profits of oil companies or protecting the future of those children and children throughout California? There's been a lot of tears shed here about oil companies and the burden that we're going to put on them. Well, let me tell you, oil companies in the state aren't conducting bake sales so they can get by, but our schools are. There's not an oil company in this state that's asking for volunteers to do their work because they're so severely understaffed, but our schools are. Oil company employees don't have to reach into their pockets to provide the basic tools of their trade without reimbursement. But every day, in every school in California, our teachers reach into their pockets to spend hundreds or thousands of dollars a year to make sure that their classrooms are supplied. Oil companies aren't the primary foundation of California's future. Our public schools are. And shame on us for starving those schools. Now, several members described today's discussion as a drill. And I'm sorry that those members feel that this is a drill. What a drill means, for those who may be watching at home, is a pointless exercise, a pointless political exercise. I submit to you that what may make today pointless is the resistance of many of my colleagues to make the hard decisions that are necessary to support public education in California. We should have a sensible discussion about our budget. We should have a sensible discussion about the priorities that we want to be represented in that budget. And you know, everything should be on the table in having that discussion. But unfortunately, many of my colleagues here have signed written pledges never to raise taxes under any circumstances. Well, you know, crafting a responsible budget is about making hard choices. It's about ranking our priorities. And those colleagues have already clearly established their singular priority. And they've demonstrated their most abiding value, their most important value. Well, I think that this I understand that they have a sense of loyalty to that pledge. And I can understand that their conscience makes it difficult for them to step back from that pledge now that we are facing a true fiscal emergency that is going to be devastating to the people of this state. I can understand that. But folks, this bill gives each of us an opportunity now to demonstrate our loyalty not to pledges, but to the people of California. This vote and this discussion that we're going to continue to have about our budget gives each of us an opportunity to test our own conscience and to decide whether it is smart, whether it is fair, whether it is morally right to continue to devastate public education as we have done over these many years. Please choose the potential of our youth over the profits of oil company. Please vote aye.